la la la, da 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 da, na da 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 da, da 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 da. Page 127 in your prayer books, 127. Return again, return again, return to the land of your soul. Return again, return again, return to the land of your soul. Return to what you are, return to who you are, return to where you are, born and reborn again. Return again, return again, return to the land of your soul. Ya da 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 da. Ya da 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 da. Ya da 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 da. Shana Tova, everyone, and Gamar Tov, Gamar Chatima Tova. We're very, very honored to have you with us here this evening. I am Rabbi Robin Spar. I am the rabbi for Temple Emmanuel of the Merrimack Valley, fondly known as TEMV. Thank you all for joining us. I am very honored to share the pulpit, the virtual pulpit, with Dane Samuels, who will be co-leading with me tonight and also offering the sermon this evening. I'm also so delighted that we were able to have Cameron Salzin join us again, our incredibly gifted cellist. Thank you, Cameron, for being with us. It really is a beautiful moment to see our community, our guests come together. I would like to just offer a few words of housekeeping to get us ready. First of all, please make sure that you have equipped yourself with a printed or perhaps a Kindle version of our Machzor. If you don't have access to a Machzor, you will probably be able to follow much of the prayers, much of the service without one, but certainly it would be helpful to have one if you're able to get one. Also, some of the pieces that are not in the Machzor will be screen shares, so you will see some words show up on the screen from time to time. A few words about Zoom. Please make sure that you know how to turn on and off your own microphone. At the bottom of your screen, there's a little microphone icon. If you click it, you turn it off. If you click it again, you turn it on. If it has a red line through it, that means it's off. The same for your video. There's a little icon of a camera. You can turn that on and off. At times, we will mute everyone, but there will be some opportunities to read or sing together in holy cacophony. Or to communicate with one another. We will be sending you to a breakout room in a little while to chat with others, so please make sure you unmute yourself then. Many people find it less fatiguing to attend Zoom meetings if you turn off your self-view, and the way that you can do that is if you hover over your picture to your right, you'll see there's three dots. If you click on them, one of the options in the drop-down menu is hide self-view. And just as we don't go through life looking in a mirror while we talk to others, it's often more comfortable to have our self-view hidden while we're in a Zoom gathering. You also can see at the top of your screen, you have some view options. If you click on the view, you might choose to see gallery, which means you see everyone, sort of like Hollywood Squares or the Brady Bunch. If you click again, you can choose speaker view, which means that the person who is speaking will be the person who is highlighted. At times, our tech masters will spotlight individuals for some purpose. If you're not leading the service, you probably will not be spotlighted. Finally, on the off chance that Zoom fails or we have any problem with Zoom, if you get disconnected, you can try to reconnect and we'll let you in again. If for some reason Zoom has a full failure, you can try to follow us at our YouTube live page. Our page there is TEMV Lowell, so do feel free to follow us so that you'll get notifications of when we're there, and also that you can see the service there if we have a catastrophic failure. Of course, if we're not there and we're not here, then hopefully you can find ways to make the most of this day by using your prayer book, communing with nature, journaling, or otherwise finding ways to observe Yom Kippur and aligning yourself with your best purposes. Our service begins with the donning of Talit, and Dane will lead us.
Hi there. Again, my name is Dane. I use they, them. Thank you so much for having me tonight. So we don't usually wear a talit at night, as some folks may be accustomed to. On this day of Yom Kippur, which with the sun setting we have entered, we take on a whole other day, a whole other mindset of prayer. And so I invite you all to wrap yourself in talit tonight and to keep it on throughout the day tomorrow, not only as a reminder of the obligations that we need to fulfill that are symbolized by the tzitzit on the corners, but also like a divine hug, like a hug from God who's coming to give us just a little bit of comfort this night as well. So I invite you all to take a grounding breath. And you shall make fringes on the corners of your garments, and you shall leave the corners of your fields for the poor. Behold, I clothe myself tonight in this four-cornered talit, whose fringes recall sacred obligations. Let me open my field of vision to recognize the poor. Let me open the clenched fist of my selfishness and extend my hand to the hungry. Let me open the darkest corners of my heart to the light of truth. On page 2. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lehitatef batzitzit. Kiss. We wrap it around ourselves. Spend a couple moments in meditation. We're now going to invite everyone to turn to page 9, and we invite Shirley Papp to come up for both candle blessings.
Shirley, please unmute.
All set?
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to light the memorial candle now. Okay. And then we'll say the blessing in English. You are blessed, eternal one, who places within us life everlasting. Then we're going to read the paragraph below. The human spirit is the lamp of God, searching out what lies within us, guided by the flame of conscience. On this sacred night, we search for truth. Shine your light upon us as we strive to serve you. May we find safety in your faithful love. We light the flame of healing and forgiveness. On this atonement night, we give thanks for love. We light the festival candles. Oh. Okay. Circle, cover.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Yom HaKippurim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam שהחיינו וקיימנו והגיענו לזמן הזה.
On page 5. Praying is more than merely reciting words. It's about encountering aspects of ourselves we rarely, if ever, see, shifting our perspective and seeing all things anew, awakening our spirits and sense of wonder. Prayer is about connection with ourselves, with a community of other seekers, and with something or someone beyond ourselves. On the high holidays in particular, our prayer has some additional goals. We're trying to remove our protective armor, our ego, self-deception, rationalization, external and internal makeup, posturing, anything that keeps us from seeing ourselves as we really are. We're trying to experience both our vulnerability and the truest source of our strength. And perhaps most importantly, we're trying to get past our self-judgment and locate the place of gentleness and tenderness, that place where we feel deeply loved and valued, and where we feel most loving of others, even if just for a moment. We are now going to go into some breakout rooms with this prompt. What is one way you're planning to forgive yourself or another person, or one way you're going to ask for forgiveness tonight, tomorrow, these coming days? And we will, magic of Zoom, be in those breakout rooms soon.
Do we have everyone back from breakout rooms?
I'm back.
Okay. Cameron, ready to go?
The meditation, yes? Yes?
On page 14. Yom Kippur, the Jewish people's festival of the soul.
Cameron, there's a reading first, and then you. Thank you. Dane.
Yom Kippur, the Jewish people's festival of the soul. Oh, there we go. And Kol Nidre, its sacred portal, a night of deep emotions, a night, as the psalmist wrote, to rejoice with trembling.
We rejoice at the sound of Kol Nidre, rhythmic words of release from vows, oaths, and promises to God we failed to keep.
We tremble at the melody, music of spiritual amazement. It fills us with awe as we stand before God and Torah.
We rejoice that we stand together, strengthened by community in this hour of shared weakness and humility.
We tremble, for tonight we confess our flaws, admit our imperfection, and acknowledge a power far beyond our understanding.
We rejoice that we commit ourselves to great endeavors because we feel so deeply and think so nobly.
We tremble, for we find that our ideals are far greater than our ability. Our promises surpass our might.
We rejoice in the freedom that is Kol Nidre's true gift, the freedom to begin a new year without fear of failure, to aspire to be God's image in the world.
We tremble because we are mortal. We rejoice in our gratitude for life.
We rejoice with trembling and enter Kol Nidre to face our humanity.
For the next few minutes, we invite you to consider the meditations on pages 4 through 8 or 10 through 13. And during this short time, Cameron will accompany our meditations with some meditative music before we come to Kol Nidre. Cameron, you'll need to unmute. Cameron, please unmute.
I just did.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
we rise in body or spirit before the open ark for Kol Nidre. It is traditional to sing Kol Nidre 3 times this evening. The way that we will do that is I will sing Kol Nidre through. We will then listen to Cameron play Kol Nidre on cello. We will then read the Kol Nidre text in English, and then we will sing it together for the 3rd time. The Kol Nidre prayer is found on page 18. Kol Nidre ve'esarei ve'achramei ve'konamei ve'chinuyei ve'kinusei u'shevut u'shevut Dindana Udahishtabana Udaharimna Vidasana Nafshatana Miyom Kippurim Zeh Yom Kippurim Haba Aleinu Letova Kulhun Micharat Navahon Kulhon Yehon Sharan Shavikin Shavitin Betelin Umavutalin La Sharirin La Kayamin Nidrana Nidre Ve'esarana Lo Esarei Shivuatana La Shavuot.
Page 18 in the English, we read together. All vows, resolves and commitments, vows of abstinence and terms of obligation.
Oh, Dane, we lost your mic.
I'm back. I'll start again.
Let's all read. Let's all unmute ourselves and read together if we can.
All vows, resolves,
and
commitments,
commitments,
vows of
vows of
abstinence,
abstinence and
terms
terms
of
of
obligation,
obligation,
sworn promises of
and
dedication,
oaths of
that we
dedication,
promise and
promise
swear
and
to
swear to
God and
God and take upon ourselves
from this day
from
of
this day of
atonement until the
atonement
next
till the next day of atonement. May
find
it
us
find
well.
us well.
We regret
We
them,
regret
and for
them, and
all
for
of them we
all of them we
repent.
repent.
Let
Let
all
all
of
of
them be
them
discarded and
discarded and
forgiven,
forgiven,
abolished and
polished and
undone.
undone.
They are
They
not
are not
valid, and they are
and
not
they are not
binding.
binding.
Our
Our
vows shall
vows
not
shall
be
not be our
vows.
vows.
Our
Our
resolves shall
vows
not be
shall not be
resolves.
resolved,
Our
and
oaths
our oaths
shall
shall
not
not
be
be
oaths.
oaths.
Their oaths shall not be oaths.
Kol Nidre, Esarei, V'charamei, V'konamei, V'chinuyei, V'kinusei, U'shivut, U'shevut. Din darna udehishte banna udacharimna v'dasarna nafshatana miyom kippurim zeh ad yom kippurim haba aleinu לטובה כולו ניחרת נבון כולו יהון שרן שביתין בטלים ומבוטלים לשרירין ולקיימין נתרנה נדרי ואסרנה לאסרי ושבועתנה שבועות.
On page 20. All shall be forgiven, the entire community of Israel, and the stranger who lives in their midst, for all have gone astray in error.
ויאמר אדוני סלחתי כדברך ויאמר אדוני סלחתי כדברך ויאמר אדוני סלחתי כדברך. Page 22, the Baruch Hu, which we sing in our High Holiday melody. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Le'olam Va'ed. Page 28. Each time we come to the Shema during these high holy days, we will take a moment to deeply engage with the meaning of these words. So after we chant Shema together, please take a few moments to consider the alternate texts on pages 28 and 29, or just to tune into the meditations of your heart. Only after you feel your personal meditation is complete, please be seated. If you are not already standing, you may rise in body or spirit. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem, Kevod Malchuto, Le'olam Va'ed.
Page 31. Our sages teach, love God with all your strength. This means show up with your wealth, put your resources toward good purposes, serve the Most High with everything you possess. Those who reject all material possessions, who spurn comfort and wealth, who deny the body, they lose their ability to appreciate life's value. Poverty and suffering do not cultivate the love of God. Rather, Learn to love life, live fully, cherish the world, and enjoy its treasures. Then you will gain a full measure of love. Then your heart will expand with gratitude, and only then will you give with a joyful heart. Page 40. On this night of spiritual liberation, we hearken back to the exodus from Egypt, the physical liberation of our people. We cannot have one or the other, physical or spiritual liberation, without the other. And we sing praises to the liberator, our God, to strengthen us in bringing down justice from on high into our world.
We sing Mi Chamocha in our high holiday melody in the middle of page 40. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar ba'kodesh, nara tehilot osefele, malchut charahu vanecha, bokayam lifnei Moshe u'Miriam, ze'eli anu v'yamru, Adonai imloch le'olam va'ed, v'nehemar ki fadadna et Yaakov ug'alo chazak miyad chazak mimenu, Baruch atah Adonai Gal Yisrael.
As we move into our silent Amidah, as is customary this night, we invite you to tune into the prayer practice that calls to your heart this evening. You can ground yourself in the words on the pages between 46 and 81. You can sit in quiet contemplation of the tshuva you have still left to do. You can engage in hipodadut, an out loud conversation with the divine. You could even go outside and hug a tree. The words of Amidah can be found on pages 46 through 81, and we will call you back with the words that can be found on page 81.
ratzon imrefi והגיון ליבי לפניך אדוני צורי וגואלי יהיו לרצון אמרי פי יהיו לרצון אמרי פי והגיון ליבי לפניך אדוני צורי וגואלי אדוני צורי וגואלי.
Turning to pages 82 and 83, we begin our Vidui service, our communal and individual confessions. At the bottom of page 83 in the footnotes. Why do we confess to the wrongs we have not personally committed? The 16th century mystic Rabbi Isaac Luria teaches that the people of Israel may be likened to a body in which every living Jew is a living part. The vitality of the whole depends on the health of every organ and limb. That is how deeply we are connected to one another. Therefore, each individual sin inflicts damage on the whole organism, and all of us share responsibility for healing the body of Israel.
We begin our confession in the middle of page 82 with the alphabetical recitation of our communal errors, our communal places where we've missed the mark, even though each of us individually might have committed each of these errors. We speak communally. One more thing. In this prayer, there's a tradition that people sort of give themselves a little tap on the chest. My colleague and teacher Eliana Light talked about how, as a child growing up, the daughter of a rabbi, how she found this a little upsetting when she was a child in shul, watching people punch themselves through their sins. And so she has a different take, and her take is this: we're not punching ourselves, we are tapping at our hearts in the same way that we might tap at a door and ask for it to be opened. We tap at our hearts and hope that our hearts too can be opened. So we tap our hearts as we recite each of these list of errors. Sorry, please unmute yourself so we can hear the echo. We sing it in echo. Ashanu, Badanu, Arnu Dofi, Ashanu, Inu Oref.
Kashinu
Ay, 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 Anu. Anu. Avnu. Ta'inu.
Okay, thank you.
Anu. Ay, ay, Mute
It's good to have
yourselves again
everybody
unless you are
leader
one of the
right,
upcoming speakers.
and maybe one person.
Please do mute your mic. Thank you. We have a special vidui this evening. Ordinarily, we list those sins that have been in our liturgy for hundreds and hundreds of years. This year, as we come to greater awareness of what has happened in our country and our part in it, we have another vidui to share with you. Dane, did you want to say some words about this?
Yeah, I invite us all to really sink these words in. That oftentimes when we talk about racial justice, we think, oh, I'm the good one here, and I'm talking to you, the racist, or I'm talking about them, the racist. And I invite us all to really, really dig into ourselves and find the places in our own hearts and souls where racism has wiggled its way in, that infects our minds and infects our hearts and infects our souls. And to really step into this confession tonight.
Before we begin, I would ask for only Joe, Jim, Bethany, Linda, Jane, and Karen to unmute themselves so that we can hear the voices of our congregation.
Al chet shechatani lefanecha, for the ways we have wronged you through our innermost thoughts, and harm we have caused in your world through the words of our mouth.
I don't know how to start a conversation with others, white or people of color, about this topic.
I once gave my roommate in college what I thought at the time was a huge compliment. He wasn't Black to me. I realized many years later how insulting and dehumanizing that was, and have a lot of regret and shame about that.
I failed to recognize that my ability to choose when to speak about racism is itself a privilege.
For the sake of keeping the peace with loved ones, I have not called a family member out on his or her racist remarks about people of color.
I have talked about the Jewish people as though all Jews are from Europe like me.
I know I have not always spoken up about racism, not timely enough, not clearly enough, not emphatically enough when I have been present for racist comments and racist acts.
Al chet shechatani lefanecha, for the ways we have wronged you by hating without cause, and harm we have caused in your world through hypocrisy.
I'm sorry for being afraid of the Black people I saw while driving through the poor Black neighborhoods in my town.
I want to atone for thinking I was not racist because I could say, I'm not white, I'm Jewish.
I'm aware of the injustice in which I participate and believe myself to be a person wishing to work towards a truly just society. Yet I have done less than I might have done. I have too easily overvalued what I was doing and allowed family responsibilities to distract me from this work.
I am sorry for not looking people of color in the eyes, literally not seeing them on the street, at the mall, in my life.
I would like to let go of the feeling that I need to prove how woke I am. That lends to impatience with others
who are just starting out on this journey.
When I'm out and about in the city, I pass people of many kinds, yet I treat them differently in my mind. About the white person I see, I think, there's a person walking. About the person of color, I think, there's a black person, or there's an Asian person. I wonder how long their family has lived in America. I find myself identifying non-white people by their appearance and questioning whether they are American, rather than just seeing them as people.
Al chet shechatanu lefanecha, the ways we have wronged you openly and secretly, and harm we have caused in your world through thoughtlessness.
For the sin of sitting in comfort, leaving the hard work to others.
I am sorry for not knowing the terrorism inflicted on Black people following Reconstruction, including lynching and the cruel Jim Crow laws.
For realizing that I cannot even imagine what it must feel like to walk into a room and immediately be hated, feared, based on how I look. And I have a good imagination.
I would like to atone for the racial guilt and shame that paralyzes me and leads me to inaction.
I have allowed my own fear of failure as a white ally get in the way of reaching out to and building relationships with people of color.
How can we have not known, or did we just turn our eyes? The legacy of this not knowing continues today.
Al kulam Elohai slichot, selach lanu, michal lanu, kaper lanu. For these failures of judgment and will, God of forgiveness, forgive us, pardon us, grant us atonement.
May these words resonate with us as we continue our work of Tikkun Olam, of rebuilding the world towards greater perfection with our acts and our words. Let us continue with the traditional Al-Chet on page 86. We read responsively. You may read along with me or Dane, or both as you wish. Al-Chet shechatanu lefanecha, deliberately and by mistake, and harm we have caused in your world through the words of our mouths.
Al chet shechatanu lefanecha, by hardening our hearts, and harm we have caused in your world through careless speech.
Al chet shechatanu lefanecha, through lies and deceit, and harm we have caused in your world through gossip and rumor.
Al chet shechatanu lefanecha, by judging others unfairly, and harm we have caused in your world through disrespect to parents and teachers.
Al chet shechatanu lefanecha, through insincere apologies, and harm we have caused in your world by mistreating a friend or neighbor.
Al chet shechatanu lefanecha, through violence and abuse, and the harm we have caused in your world through dishonesty in business.
Ve'al kulam elo aselichot, selach lanu mechalanu, kaper lanu. Page 88.
Al chet shechatanu lefanecha, openly and secretly, and harm we have caused in your world by losing self-control.
Al chet shechatanu lefanecha, through sexual immorality, and harm we have caused in your world through consumption of food and drink.
Al chet shechatanu lefanecha, by giving into our hostile impulses, and harm we have caused in your world through greed and exploitation.
Al chet shechatanu lefanecha, through cynicism and scorn, and harm we have caused in your world through arrogant behavior.
Al chet shechatanu lefanecha, by hating without cause, and harm we have caused in your world through offensive speech.
Al chet shechatanu lefanecha, with a slanderous tongue, and harm we have caused in your world through a selfish or a petty spirit. For all these failures of judgment and will, God of forgiveness, forgive us, pardon us, lead us to atonement. Ve'al kulam Eloah selichot, selach lanu mechalanu, כפר לנו ועל כל העם אלוה סליחות סלח לנו מחלנו סלח לנו מחלנו כפר לנו. Page 91, Dane will lead us, and let's read these responsively.
We sin against you when we hurt one another. For our failures of love, Adonai, we seek forgiveness.
For exploiting another for our own pleasure, and for the wounds we cause through betrayal and deception.
For withholding affection from those we claim to love. And for using love to control our spouses and partners, our children and parents.
For abandoning friends and siblings whose love has sustained us, and for neglecting those who love us when they need us most.
For harboring in our relationships mistrust, boredom, and disloyalty, and for rejecting our partner's efforts at repair and renewal.
For possessiveness, jealousy, and avarice, and for lashing out in anger at those who are closest to us. For all these wrongs, God of forgiveness, forgive us, pardon us, lead us to atonement.
Amen.
It gives me enormous pleasure to invite Dane to share their words with us. I'm sure many of you have heard this idea that teachers learn much from their teachers and much from their colleagues, but most of all from their students. Certainly I have learned a great deal from Dane. It has been a true honor and pleasure to work closely with them as we've prepared these days of awe for you. And I'm very, very pleased. I hope that you will find their words to be resonant and meaningful for you.
Thank you, Rabbi. So I want to start off tonight with all of y'all's and your participation. So show of hands in your box if you know where the custom of saying Kol Nidre comes from. Ooh, I see some hands. Oh, this is fun. Okay, so we're all gonna learn some tonight. If you have questions after this, you know who to talk to. You saw the hands. So Kol Nidre is thought to have been written sometime between about 600 and 1000 in the Common Era, and the exact authorship is still a mystery. But what we know from this time period is it was a really, really scary time to be a Jew, no matter where you were in the world. Our peoples spread across the Roman and Persian empires, later into the rise of the Catholic Church and Islamic rulers. Being a Jew was reason for incredible persecution and even torture. One of the only ways we had to escape the violence was to convert, often physically forced, to the faiths of the rulers around us. And because we as Jews hold pikuach nefesh, saving a human life, highest among all the laws we have, there was no choice here. It was convert or be killed, and you can't practice Judaism in secret if you're dead. Understandably, a not insignificant number of conversos, Jews who were forcibly converted, became isolated from their Judaism, and the generations of their families would merge into the dominant cultures and religions they were forced into. And many young people nowadays are finding their histories and following it all the way back to Judaism after hundreds and hundreds of years. But that's a whole other story. The others who survived by conversion and hid their Judaism, it's their legacy of Kol Nidre that I want to explore with you tonight. Invite us all, close your eyes, and for a second, imagine you're living in a community of practicing conversos who successfully made it to the seas and returned these days of awe without being caught by the authorities. By day, you might follow the bells to mass or heed the azan, the call to prayer echoing from the mosque, but you daven in the liminality of dawn and twilight. You gather for holidays in the cellars of people's homes. You whisper your prayers under your breath, always under your breath. And now it's Yom Kippur, and you go to God with the deepest prayers of your heart, And you also know that the next day you'll be back in the outside world, living a completely un-Jewish life and having to sin right and left. How are you supposed to expect forgiveness from the divine source of the universe if you cannot change the fact that you have been converted away from Judaism? How can you come to Yom Kippur and truly atone if you still have to live the daily lie? Our unnamed ancestors knew in their souls that these conversions they underwent were not true, that they were lies, and also that their communities needed an opportunity for spiritual liberation from the chains of constantly having to lie about who they were, if only for one night. So they wrote Kol Nidre, a declaration that we are breaking all of our vows, all of our prohibitions, all of our oaths, our consecrations. Every time we made promises to other gods, every time we've misused holy things for mundane purposes. All of them are undone. All of them are gone and broken. We will no longer be responsible for the sins we have no choice in making. God, please. Our vows are no longer vows, and our prohibitions are no longer prohibitions, and our oaths are no longer oaths. Please forgive us. And it was so, and it has been every Erev Yom Kippur for Jews all over the world for generations. These days, we're free to practice our Judaism, at least in our corner of the world, but we are still forced to live in systems that go against Jewish morals and ethics, and we are swayed to participate in the worship of other gods, such as capitalism, consumerism, white supremacy, biological essentialism, and hyper-individualism, to name a few. To live outside of these systems, to refuse to worship these gods, makes you a radical, oftentimes an enemy of the state and the police. And it can be all but impossible to sustain without serious consequences. We take on these practices and chase the strange fire for comfort and safety. You are not a bad person for surviving this terrifying world by any means you had to. Those vows and oaths and promises to continue participating in these systems and the deadly side effects they bring, they are broken. You've already broken them here tonight. So what now? What do we do with an empty slate? Hopefully, we've all been on a journey of return, the path of teshuvah, for a while now. Whether you started your apologies and amends making at the beginning of Elul, on Rosh Hashanah, maybe it's a year-round practice for you. Maybe you're starting tonight. But making amends is the first part of the work ahead of us. And this is where it gets really exciting. We get to make new oaths, new vows, take on new responsibility, and recommit to the promises we hold dear. Think of all of the do-overs you wish you had, all the promises you failed to keep. The opportunity for change is upon us. We can make new oaths to really put in the work of racial justice, oaths to listen to the voices of Black people, the indigenous peoples on whose land we live, and people of color. And for those of us who are white, we can take oaths to step back and out of the spotlight. I say as I'm in a spotlight. We can make new promises to entangle our lives with those of our neighbors and those we hold dear. Really care for those around us with our whole hearts and beings, the stranger and the loved one alike. We can enter this year to come with New Year's resolutions to listen and believe the people around us when they speak their truths and ask for our support, to let go of the illusion that our understandings of life are the universal norm or goal. We can make new promises to our Mother Earth, one of the many faces of the divine oneness, that we will no longer live in opposition to her health, that we'll not only live more greenly in our homes, but also divest from the company giants who are the biggest contributors of emissions and pollution. We have the greatest gift, the chance to follow the path of teshuvah, of coming into right relationship, and completely start over again. This path is not easy. It requires a lot of heartbreak, as we come to see all of the ways we've each missed the mark and have done harm even when we intended the opposite. It takes unlearning the ways we've been taught and have taught others to navigate and survive this world. It means detaching from the societal goal of ease and efficiency. It means really, truly, deeply starting over again, subverting the status quo and recommitting to what it means to live Jewishly every day. If this is feeling like it's too much, if you're feeling defensive of your past actions, I know I am. If you're not quite ready to break from the dominance of these other gods, it's okay to start small. Perfectionism is a symptom of leaning into these oppressive systems. I encourage each of you to recommit to something tonight. Anything. Make your wedding vows out loud again to your beloved. Tell your friends and close ones you love them and have their backs like it's the first time you've told them. Restart a project you've long put down. Go back to the habits you tried to make and try again. I won't tell you it's not hard because it is, but you are free tonight. Take this opportunity, spiritually liberated from the promises we had to make this past year, and head into wandering the desert, trying to get it right. All of us will slip back into systems and promises that work against total and complete liberation for all. That's how we have to survive. But this night, the portal to tshuva is as wide as it will ever be. Gemar Chatima Tova, may we be sealed in the book of life another year, so that we may take this chance to start fresh and return to the sacred, everyday path of serving the one who consecrates all life.
Ken Yiratzon and Yasher Koach. All the world is a narrow bridge. Kol ha'olam kulo gesher tzar, tzar me'od, gesher tzar, tzar me'od, kol ha'olam kulo. Kol ha'olam kulo, gesher tzar, tzar me'od, gesher tzar, tzar me'od, kol ha'olam kulo. והעיקר לא לפחד, והעיקר לא לפחד, והעיקר לא לפחד, לא לפחד כלל. והעיקר לא לפחד, והעיקר לא לפחד, והעיקר לא לפחד, לא לפחד כלל. The important thing is not to be afraid. We made our list of places where we've fallen short. Now let us look at a different list on page 93. For acts of healing and repair. God, our creator and guide, let us speak now of the healing acts by which we bring you into the world, the acts of repair that make you a living presence in our lives. I invite you to read responsively. For the act of healing we have done openly or anonymously, and for the act of repair we have done without personal gain.
For the act of healing we have done by seeking forgiveness, and for the act of repair we have done by forgiving others.
For the act of healing we have done through righteous giving, and for the act of repair we have done by opening our hearts.
For the act of healing we have done by comforting the mourner and visiting the sick, and for the act of repair we have done by pursuing justice and human rights, fairness and civility.
For the act of healing we have done by making peace between one person and another, and for the act of repair we have done by protecting nature and all its creatures.
For the act of healing we have done by teaching our children the ways of peace, and for the act of repair we have done by teaching our children the ways of Torah.
For the act of healing we have done by honoring elders and loving the stranger, and for the act of repair we have done in response to your commandment, choose life and blessing.
And all these bring near the day when you shall be one and your name shall be one. On page 99. Will you hear my voice, you who are far away from me? Will you hear my voice wherever you are? A voice calling aloud, a voice silently weeping, endlessly demanding a blessing. This busy world is vast, and its ways are many. Paths meet for a moment, then part forever. We go on searching, but our feet stumble. We cannot find that which we have lost. Perhaps my last day is already drawing near. Drawing close are the tears of parting. I will wait for you till my days flicker out, like Rachel, waiting for her beloved.
Page 98. Page 98. Shema Koleinu, Adonai Eloheinu, Chus v'rachim aleinu, v'kabel b'rachamim uv'ratzon et tefilatenu. Hashivenu Adonai lecha v'nashuva Chadesh Yameinu kekedem.
The words we find on page 105 are not only a reminder for us to embody these attributes of divinity, but also to remind us of God's obligations to us in our symbiotic relationship. This is not just one representation of the divine or two faces of God. We move beyond the binary and into the expansiveness of the divine.
Adonai, Adonai, El Rachum v'Chanun, Adonai. Adonai, Adonai, El Rachum v'Chanun, Adonai. Erech apayim berav chesed, ve'emet Adonai. Notzer chesed lalafim, nosei avon v'fesha, v'chata'av v'nakeh. Adonai, Adonai, El Rachum v'Chanun, Adonai. Adonai, Adonai, El Rachum v'Chanun, Adonai. Erech apayim berav chesed, ve'emet Adonai. Notzer chesed lalafim, nosei avon v'fesha, v'chata'ah v'nakeh. Adonai, Adonai, El Rachum v'Chanun, Adonai. Adonai, Adonai, El Rachum v'Chanun, Adonai.
About to pop up on the screen, you'll find Avinu Malkeinu regendered to make space for the expansiveness of God in all of God's genders.
Sorry, we're having technical difficulties. One sec.
The wonderful practice that Zoom has brought into our prayer lives of patience. Grounding once again as we begin. Our Mother, our Queen, illumine for us the path of life.
Our Father, our King, how shall we find the strength to take the road less traveled by?
Our Mother, our Queen, how shall we come to know the purpose of our existence?
Our Father, our King, how shall we learn not to live life in vain?
Our Mother, our Queen, how shall we get out of our indifference?
Our Father, our King, how shall we distinguish between truth and falsehood?
Our Mother, our Queen, how shall we find the answers to our questions?
Our Father, our King, how shall we gird ourselves with strength to seek answers?
Our Parent, our Sovereign, be gracious to us, answer us, empower us, and give us courage, for the answers are both in you and with you.
Please rise in body or spirit before the open ark for the chanting of Avinu Malkeinu on page 114. Avinu Malkeinu, Shema Koleinu. Avinu Malkeinu, Chatanu Lefanecha. Avinu Malkeinu, Chamol Aleinu, Ve'alul Aleinu, Ve'tzapeinu. Avinu Malkeinu, Kali Dever, Echrev Ra'av, Me'aleinu. Avinu Malkeinu, Kali Kotzar, Umastin, Me'aleinu. Avinu Malkeinu, Avinu Malkeinu, Kotvenu b'Sefer Chaim Tovim. Avinu Malkeinu, Chodesh Aleinu, Chodesh Aleinu, Shana Tova. Avinu Malkeinu, Avinu Malkeinu, Chadesh Aleinu, Shana Tova. Avinu Malkeinu, Shema Koleinu, Shema Koleinu, Shema Koleinu. Avinu Malkeinu, Chanenu v'Hanenu. Avinu Malkeinu, Chanenu v'Hanenu, ki ein banu ma'asim. Asei banu tzedaka v'chesed. Asei imanu tzedaka v'chesed ve'hoshienu. Avinu Malkeinu, Chonenu v'Hanenu. Avinu Malkeinu, Chonenu v'Hanenu, ki ein banu ma'asim.
Page 120 at the bottom.
Before we, I'm sorry, go ahead, Dan.
We stand as one on this night of remembrance, united in grief, united in loss, united in the power of a promise. God has made us. God will sustain us. We gave praise to this life and rise up together to renew our strength.
If there's someone that you are remembering, please share their name in the chat. With the words of the mourner's Kaddish, we recall those whose light no longer illuminates the earth, although it shines brightly in our hearts. We think of those lost in recent natural disasters around our country and the world, victims of war, insurgency, and genocide, and the victims of senseless acts of violence, as well as the more than 200,000 American residents and 1 million people the world over who have succumbed to COVID-19. We note with sadness the passing last week of Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg, a true tzaddiket. May her legacy of righteousness endure. We continue to support and console the Schneider family, who yet observe Shloshim, it not having been 30 days since the passing of their beloved father and grandfather, Howard Schneider. We remember to these loved ones in the chat: Phoenix Winters, Cecile Torlin, Rosalie Singer, Samuel Singer, Shirley Lesberg, Louis Torlincasi, Helen Singer, the 37 trans people who have been murdered this year in the US, Camille Zawiza, Jerome Singer, Max Kalfas, Molly Kalfas, Lily Isaacs, David Mace, Henry Doppler, Richard and Charlotte Stone, Charles Nelson, Barbara and Joseph Kotler, Anne Rosenthal, Sadie Rosenthal, Irving Lissman, Francis Lissman, Shirley Nelson, Arlene Hervis, Emmanuel Rothman, Pearl Rothman, Herschel Rothman, Jay Rothman, Tom Whisker, Ashley Drublé, Breonna Taylor, Elaine Glansman, Isidore Cohn, Babette Golden, Abe Golden, Bill Glansman, Gwen Furnish, Elise Blau, Sam Blau, Linda Ferris, Kathy, Kristen, Martha, Paul, Mark Harris, Michael Rice, Jake Feeney, Sam Crisafulli, Joe Slattery, Stephen Smolkin, Thaddeus Smith, Hannah, Matt, Dora, Lewis, Kenny, Judy Easton, Ralph Miller. If you would add someone else whose name I have not yet said, please share their name aloud at this time by unmuting yourself.
Simon Rand, Napoleon Rand.
We rise in body or spirit to give thanks to the one who grants us life. On page 122.
Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, be'almad yivrach yirtei yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon uv'yomechon, uv'chayei d'chol Beit Yisrael, ba'agala uv'izman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevarach le'olam olmei almaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yipa'ar v'yitraman v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitalei v'yitalal shmei d'kudesha brechu, le'ela u'le'ela mikol birchata v'shirata, tush b'chata v'nechamata da'amiram ba'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama Rabbah min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei tevel v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'romav, huya aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei tevel v'imru amen. May the source of peace bestow peace on all who mourn, and may we be a source of comfort for all who are bereaved. Amen.
Amen. On Yom Kippur, we don't have a closing song. We think of the services as all running continuously into one another. I'm sure that all of you have the scheduled services for tomorrow. Thank you for sharing the names of your loved ones in the chat for Mourner's Kaddish this evening. Of course, tomorrow at Yizkor service at 5 o'clock, you will also have an opportunity to share aloud all of the names of your loved ones. We hope that we will see you there. Before we move into not really our closing song, but our transitional song, I would invite any of our board leaders who have any particular announcements to share to unmute themselves and share them now. Page 124. Just one thing I have asked of God, only this do I seek, to dwell in God's house all the days of my life, to behold divine sweetness and beauty, and gaze in delight at God's temple. Achat sha'alti met Adonai, Achat sha'alti ota avakesh. Achat sha'alti met Adonai, Achat sha'alti ota avakesh. Shivti, shivti, bevet Adonai. Shivti, shivti, kol yemei chayai, achazot benom Adonai. Ubechaz uvaker mehechalo, achazot benom Adonai. To gaze upon the beauty of Adonai. Achat sha'alti met Adonai, Achat sha'alti ota avakesh. Achat sha'alti met Adonai, Achat sha'alti ota avakesh. Gamar Tov, everyone. We'll see you back tomorrow morning.